It's our favorite time of the week, favorite time of the day. Get to sit here and have a discussion with the hydro weight champion of the world, Harley Smith. I'm the organic mechanic at Kelp4less.com. And here I am with my good friend, colleague, mentor, and we have looks like we're up for a good discussion today. We've both been involved with some projects of water quality or water treatment or zero runoff, or how do we, make our irrigation water better, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of been a topic that we've been discussing personally, and we thought we'd just come on the channel today and discuss and talk about some of the things that we have learned, we've experienced, and how we're dealing with some obstacles that come across this in, water, irrigation water, water treatment, zero runoff, hydroponic systems, and making water better, or being efficient with the water we use, not being wasteful, trying to get the most out of it. And I know, Harley, you have some really good experience in the Netherlands dealing with large amounts of non-runoff and treating water to reuse again. And that's a great story. If you could relay that message, again, so the other listeners can identify with it, learn from it, and just we can see where it goes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my main experience with water quality management and nutrient solution management for hydroponics was in the Netherlands. Some of the trips I took over there. Now remember, the Netherlands is below sea level, right? So runoff is a problem because
Okay,
where's it going to
right,
go? There's no place for it to
right,
go, and after a while, you start to contaminate the water, especially in big greenhouse areas. So they had to switch. The national standard in the Netherlands is zero runoff. In other words, especially for nitrates, they really
right.
want to keep, they'd like to have zero nitrate runoff for their hydroponics. So they're capturing rainwater from the roof. In fact, they not only capture the water from the roof, they're required by law to monitor and measure the amount of water that they're taking up from the wells. And then they're required
Oh,
by
from the
law
wells too.
to
Wow.
replace that water during the rainy season. So they're capture, so they run the nutrients through you know hundreds and hundreds of hectares greenhouses. They run the
Hmm.
water through the plants, past the roots. They capture it, clean it, reconstitute it, put back in the nutrients the plant took out, and then feed it to the plant again. Nothing goes down the drain. Now, over time, it's possible for maybe a trace element, some say zinc, just an example, to build up to too high a levels. And then they have to have, zero runoff is not exactly zero. So then they need to do some or lower that amount. So there is some runoff here and there. But this is a very efficient system. Now, we always know that the problem with the recirculating system is they get the buildup of diseases over
Right.
time. So they have to clean the nutrient solution and even clean the rainwater. They have sensors on the roof, Brandon, that measure rainfall. So as soon as it starts to rain, closes the vents, it waits, the timer goes off, and it waits for like 10 minutes or so to rinse off the dust and whatever from the roof. And then it starts to collect the rainwater. It goes, and then it's cleaned, and then they add to replace the water that the plant transpired. Uh, so
Wow.
it's very, very efficient. Now, why would they go to all that expense? Because they had to. It was an
Yeah.
environmental issue. So what started out though as an environmental issue, they have to spend the money to do this. It made that turned into an economic issue because now they can cut their fertilizer costs way down, manage the water much more efficiently, and raise more food in less space. And since they're spoon feeding, doing reconstituting the perfume, they have computer controls that change the recipe for the plants,
Hmm.
like tomatoes that you were talking about this morning. Every week, it changed the recipe is changed because they're able to inject the exact amount of the minerals they need, and then reconstitute it on the downside. So and then even are monitoring the amount of light the plant's receiving, and on a bright sunny day, they'll adjust the ammonium to nitrate ratio, the computer, or or it will adjust the boron levels. That's how precise this gets. So yeah, it started
And
out,
all
oh,
automated, right?
we got to protect
All
you,
automated, right?
all
Correct.
complete,
Everything's
all automated.
automated.
But of course, they've got to see the plant is always the ultimate judge. So you need people in there to look at the data, to see the response, to do the trials, to make some fine changes to the environment, to retype reprogram the computer a little bit. But they've been doing this for 30, 40, 50 years. So by now, I mean, they are reaching almost the genetic potential of these crops. With you think all that expense, and they're still being able to export food, ship it across the ocean at competitive prices. Yeah, because they're being more efficient. And that's one of the, I don't know, I'm not going to get into politics, but that's one of the things I have. We're kind of a global economy now, like it or not. We're part of that. And I think that in general, we should reward the growers. I don't care where they are, the farmers that are working smarter, working more efficiently, and working along with nature and with the environment. They should be rewarded for their efforts. They shouldn't say, well, because you make it cheaper than we're doing it in a stupid way, then we're going to give you higher tariffs so that we can compete with you better. What? So anyway, that's my politics of the week. I really think that those that are doing the best job, growing the highest quality, the most efficiently, should be rewarded and not penalized for it. But that's my politics of the day.
that that kind of spurred a moment that I had. I know a year or so ago. I was speaking at a sustainability conference, and everybody has a different meaning or a different, I don't know, push to be sustainable. What actually is that? And so in this conference, more of a farming background. And the thing I kept coming back to, and I was asked the question, what do I have to do to be sustainable? What is sustainability in agriculture? And the first thing I always said is sustainability, number one, you need water. You need to be able to irrigate. That's goal number one to being sustainable. Goal number two is you have to have a seed source or a good seed source. Those two, without those two things, everything else is out the window. And
Yeah.
so I'd always say, from a soil aspect, the soil is going to be there. To make that sustainable, you need to water and seed. We can deal with whatever soil type you have. We can make adjustments there. But if you don't have good water, if you don't have enough water or access to it, there's not even, there's no chance of being sustainable. So it kind of ties in to what you're talking about in the Netherlands of they're finding ways to be sustainable, and it's starting with the water first.
Hmm. It is. And in a recirculating system with zero runoff, though, we have to also, I don't know, I'll call this, say, sanitize the water. You can't have a buildup of pythium and other and viruses and other diseases in because of the runoff from the roots. You don't want to build up a disease, so they do have to treat the water and the nutrients. And conventionally, they use UV sterilization. They run it through UV. They also are going to they'll even before they go through the UV, the well water itself, they'll remove the iron that is insoluble. They literally spray I saw it over there. I went, what are they doing? They were spraying the water, like misting the water onto these gravel beds. And then the iron would oxidize and filter out, on the gravel. And then on the other side, they'd add water soluble iron that the plant could take out. And then, but they do have to clean that water. And so UV sterilization. Now, the thing I don't like about UV sterilization is it also tends to oxidize the iron and the manganese. So
Hmm.
it's that UV starts to burn iron after a while, and they have to clean it up and So they're
Hmm.
removing as much of the iron as they can up front, but it's still a problem in recirculating systems. Um, so they started moving into biofilters instead. Instead of using UV, at least some of the, I don't know, more advanced growers over there, where they were really cleaning the water using microorganisms at room temperature instead of using the electricity to do the ultraviolet. And what they found was that actually makes the nutrients more available to the plant. You and I both, you could talk about that. Having those microbes that are cleaning the water are also making biostimulants for the plant at the same time and making chelators that make iron more available. So, man, look at this. They start with a problem. They solve the problem, and then there's all these unexpected side benefits that that came from that, and it all started by protecting the environment.
Hmm. Wow. And once again, as so many of our discussions do, it leads right back into the biology. Very interesting.
Hmm.
So back to my statement, I always say this, in an environment outside of a lab, biology trumps chemistry. Biology is always there to make the chemical work, to make the chemistry work in an environment that it shouldn't. It's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
it was really funny when I was looking at the biofilters. Whole big swimming pools. With the lava grains and the oxygenation, and they were dosing very small amounts of organic biostimulants. And I said, well, are you adding microbes to that? They said, no. I said, well, why not? To clean the water? They said, the microbes that clean the water are already in the water because it's in
Hmm.
recirculating systems. They're already there. They're doing their job. All they added the biostimulants to improve the metabolism of the microorganisms so that they could divide more, make more enzymes, clean the water faster. And and they were even with the biofilter room temperature with no chemical treatment. With recirculating system, they were reducing things like pathogens like E. coli to zero. They did experiments where they added E. coli higher, way higher than amounts than normal, and on the other end, none.
Hmm.
The
Wow.
and it was even eliminating viruses in the water. So because why? Hey, like you said, this is the biology. The biology is already trying to do that to protect the plant and to use what's available for their metabolism and to fight the good guys fighting the bad guys. So we
Yeah.
just create this system using an intelligent way to help nature do it better and faster.
Yeah. An ecosystem. Yeah. It's just a well working ecosystem, even in the water. We always
Hmm.
focus on soil, but look what you experienced just in the water, doing that process first,
Hmm.
focusing on the irrigation and the difference that can make. And yeah, this is phenomenal. You know, never I've never witnessed personally some of the things you describe in the Netherlands. I've never seen that personally, um, on a large scale. So this is very compelling.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, even in other countries like like the UK, like England, I don't know where they're at now, but their standards, environmental standards, are still a lot higher than ours. Now, that's not zero runoff like the Netherlands, but they have to at least make sure that their wastewater, if they're getting rid of it, the wastewater from the greenhouses has a low EC. So they, at the very minimum, they have to dilute it way down before it's released. So you're not starting to get all this concentrated runoff
Mhm.
accumulating over time. So it's, they don't have as big of an environmental need as the Netherlands, but they're addressing it.
Hmm. Right, right. Just recently I've been involved in some discussions with a facility that has too much phosphorus in their water, and they're it's a situation that they have to dispose. There's excess water they need to dispose of, and they can't because the phosphorus levels are so high. So it's been very interesting collaborating with very knowledgeable people in the industry like yourself, microbiologists, and some really good uh, chemists and engineers on figuring out a biological solution to this phosphorus. And my mind says, well, let's use this as irrigation water. Let's go and and where they're located, that's not a possibility. So
Oh,
we're we're finding a way to do this biologically because they've tried to precipitate the phosphorus on a chemical level, and that has been unsuccessful. They've done some filtration and some quite a lot of other things that it's just not doing the job for them. So the next step was to focus on the biology. What can we do biologically to help remediate some of that phosphorus in the water? We've made some very big strides. Everybody getting educated that this could be possible, and well, it will be possible. We just have to connect, the puzzle and get everybody involved. And it's kind of a fun project. So I look forward to discussing this with you in the future as well. But once again, it
oh,
goes right back to biology. It's very
oh.
interesting.
The origin of the organic biostimulants, the ones that they were literally in, injecting to clean the water, in small amounts. That the whole discovery of those biostimulants for plants were because they were having to face an environmental issue. It
Hmm.
was in Germany, and the runoff
Right.
of nitrate nitrogen from the farms was so high it was contaminating the groundwater. They were getting blue baby syndrome, cancer, all kinds of negative side effects. So they said, government says, wait, we can't keep doing this. That's unsustainable to human life.
Yeah.
We can't just keep doing this. So they had to find ways to reduce the amount of nitrogen that the plant would need. And they did 10 years of research, found out there was plenty of nutrition in the soil, but it was unavailable. And that's where the research for the first biostimulant products came in, when they found ways to work with nature to be able to reduce the amount of nitrogen. So it's, again, here we are. Starts out as an environmental issue, a problem. Get the best. I mean, literally, I interviewed a, a rocket scientist. He was a rocket scientist from Germany who was brought in with a bunch of other scientists, top minds, to solve that problem. And as a result, look what they've done for us. Their
Wow.
research, the research they did because they had to, was resulted in things that we're still learning from, and and the research that you're gonna do, and we're gonna maybe help you with to solve some other problems. We're gonna learn things in that's gonna help. That's gonna make maybe some breakthroughs that we never
Yeah.
anticipated along the way.
Yeah.
Now, there's
Absolutely.
the lazy way is just say, ah, just change the regulations and just give them the freedom to pollute. You know,
Yeah.
just
We know what
freedom
happens
to
there.
pollute. And if that's an option, but what's that going to do for what that's going to do to the food supply and to us and our children and grandchildren? But continuing to be unsustainable. Sooner or later, it's just the whole system will collapse. So
Hmm.
so here it is.
Yeah.
I love the challenge of trying to solve problems, because when there's no problems, everything's smooth sailing. You really don't learn much. you know, just keep doing it the way you've been doing it. But when you have to solve a problem, that can lead you to new discoveries. And that's where that's where if I can learn something new from you, it's a good day.
Well, we are, and we will, and this will be fun. Keep you updated on the process, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This will create even more discussions and things that we learn going forward. Uh, there's yeah, so much there's so much on this plate on this one project to learn from, and I'm excited to see what comes out of it. And yeah, I'll keep you in the loop. I'll share it with you, and we'll do an update, I'm sure, because we're going to learn something. Here we go, another problem. Let's find a way to solve it. I'm excited
We'll do
about
our
that.
best, bring in the best minds, and I think you've got a good team.
Oh yeah,
I know some of the folks on your team, and they are some superstars. So if anyone
yeah,
can
we're
do
going to
it,
get it
you
done.
guys can.
And we'll keep you updated, and we'll pull you in too. This will be fun for you to review some of the stuff we learned. So yeah, I'll keep you updated on that. And we're running towards the end of our time frame here. So boy, just another great discussion with Harley Smith. Keep it coming. Feel free to throw in any questions you guys, what we can answer for you or talk about. We love some interesting topics that we're unaware of. So please keep us aware of anything else out there that you would like. Harley's a great researcher and a great scientist, and I have a lot of contacts practically in the industry. Just keep those questions coming, and we'll see. It'll lead to some more discussions like this. So
Okay.
I appreciate everybody listening to us.
Yeah. Another nice talk. We didn't really know what we were going to talk about this morning, but yeah, we both of us have stories to tell at the very least. So
That's right. That's right. And it's just good talking to you. So let's do this
yeah.
again next week.
Okay. See you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
Harley.
Brandon.
See you.